I'm Chelsea, and my story is about a music video gone really wrong.
Hi, my name's Adri, and my story is about how America's wealthiest men caused America's worst flood.
Hi, I'm Chris, and my story is about a man who marches to the beat of his own drum.
What does all this have to do with Panda? Find out in this episode of History Bluffs. Welcome to another episode of History Bluffs. It's where truth is stranger than fiction. Get ready to meet your host. I'm going to introduce him now. It's your host, Carlos. That's not Carlos. There's Carlos.
Hello.
Hey, welcome to the show, Carlos.
Hey, welcome to the show, Adam, and welcome to all of you at home watching to History Bluffs, where truth is stranger than fiction. I'm your host for today's show, Carlos Rivera. There's my Instagram right there in case you want to follow me. Now, for those of you that have never seen the show, I'm going to explain it real quick and simple so you understand. 3 armchair historians, 1, 2, and 3 will be given a single topic. They're going to tell you a story from history about that topic. Now, 2 of them will be telling you a factual, actual story that really happened, and 1 will be making a story up. That is our titular bluff. I said titular, tee-hee. All right. Now, we have some rules on this game show, but before we get to the rules, hey, historians, how are you doing today?
Hey.
Great.
Hi.
Doing good.
All right. And I believe today we have Chelsea and Chris and Adri. Oh, my. And that's the order I think I'm going to go in, unless I'm told otherwise. Now, great, indeed. Thank you, Adam. Now, bluffs, well, not bluffs, history armchair experts. You know, today's topic is Panda. So when we think of Panda, we, of course, thank you, we, of course, think of China, where pandas come from. And when we think of China, who doesn't think of that goodness gracious Great Wall of China? So if you were back in time, one of the workers on that wall, what would you like carve into the side? What phrase, what quote, what symbol would you carve? What picture would you carve into the side to for prosperity? Chelsea, let's start with you.
I would have to carve wet paint so people would stop taking all the bricks.
Solid.
Okay. Chris, what would you carve?
I would carve "You Are Here."
Now, let me ask you, when you're spelling "you are here," is it the letter U, the letter R here, or is it the word "you," the word "are" here?
It would be the word "you," the word "are," and "here," but except it's in China, so I'd use the appropriate symbols for their written language.
Okay,
Very
great.
considerate.
Two very helpful, practical things on the wall. Adri, would you also write something helpful and practical?
Probably not. I think I'd write my favorite fortune cookie saying that was Rome didn't got built in a day. And end quote. It was literally what I got.
Would you also add 6 numbers for the lottery?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Definitely.
They would say, what's a lottery?
Do me.
Adam, what would you carve onto the side of the Great Wall of China?
Oh, well, I would obviously carve "Kilroy was here" and put the little face just to really screw with the Nazis once the 20th century rolled around.
Wow.
All right, good.
Time
I like
traveler.
Some Indiana Jones type stuff. Oh, wonderful. Adam, since we have you on the line, why don't we have you go over the rules of the game?
Let's do it! This is a game show, and we have rules. I'm going to show you the rules card. For those listening on our podcast, Carlos will tell you the rules.
Okay. Historians are inspired by the topic. Today's topic, of course, being Panda. Excuse me. The true stories are factual. The bluff story is fictional. What does that mean? That means it is mostly false. They can pepper in some truth in there, but there are elements of it that are false enough to make it a bluff. And no audience help is allowed. So if you know what's true or what's false, please don't type into the comments, oh, I know that so-and-so is totally bluffing. That's absolutely not true. Or I absolutely know this thing is true. But other than that, please comment whatever guesses or comments you want to comment, okay? All right. Now, I think we are ready to get into the game show. We already know the topic, but let's see that topic one more time. Adam.
Let's do it. Bringing it up where our topic is Panda.
Yeah. Those lovable, cuddly creatures.
They're so cute. That's right. Those little cute ones that run around in the zoos.
All right. And I see the order now is Chelsea, Adri, and Chris. Is that the order we're going in, Adam?
It is, but how are we going to know where we are in the rounds? I'll tell you, Carlos. We're going to bring in the round tracker 9,000 above your head.
What? How can we afford this technology?
It's brought to you by CompuServe in 1989. The GIF format, everyone.
CompuServe are not sponsors. Okay.
No, they're out of business since 1993, I assume.
All right. So I think we've covered everything. Guys at home, you're going to guess who's bluffing. Our history armchair experts are going to try to guess who's, but everyone's going to try to guess who's bluffing except the bluff because they know they're bluffing. And we all need to collectively try to figure that out. Without further ado, let's get started. Adam, take us to round number 1.
And here we are, round number 1, Carlos, as you requested.
All right. Thank you very much, Adam. Now, each round, we're going to go in order, Chelsea, Adrian, Chris, except we're going to start with each of them telling a little bit of their historical story. We're going to start, if I'm not mistaken, with 75 seconds for each of them. We're going to have a clock that counts them down. And when it is done, there's going to be a big bong, and then they have to stop, and then the next person goes, and so on and so forth. And the Roundatron 5000, or whatever you just called it, is going to keep track as we go. So we don't lose track. And we're going to go in the same order in all 3 rounds because some of you at home have said you get confused when we change the order. So we're not going to change the order
keep
for
it
you.
simple.
Okay, we're going to keep it simple. We're going to kiss it up in here. So let's get started. Chelsea, we're going to start with you. 75 seconds on the clock to tell us your story based on the theme for tonight, which is Panda. When you hear the gong, begin.
So Queen Elizabeth II, she visited the Chengdu Panda Sanctuary many times, the largest panda research center in China. And this was in a documentary during one of her tours. And somebody, when they were little, saw that documentary and really just loved it so much. She was an animal lover herself. Her name was actually Kesha, the pop star Kesha. So when you think of Kesha, she's known for some pretty outlandish things, brushing her teeth with a bottle of Jack in the morning, from, a lot of alcohol, unicorns, glitter, James Van Der Beek, lasers, very interesting music videos. So she is going through everything she's kind of going through with the whole Dr. Luke controversy. She's working on kind of rehabbing her image. She takes the $sign in her name, Kesha, and just makes it an S. And she's saying, okay, so we're going on this tour of my album. What does Kesha always bring with her? Her documentary crew, because she loves to have docuseries of her own on MTV.
Thank you very much, Chelsea. Now, Chelsea, the question is, should we believe your story about Kesha or should we suspect you? Adri, what do you think?
If it's okay, I'd like to yield my time to the gentleman named Chris.
You may do so, ? Chris. Now you're speaking for 2. What do you think?
Okay.
And I need 2 separate opinions.
All right. I'll give you 2 separate opinions. The first one, is that. So the Dr. Lou controversy, I presume that, of course, she's talking about Dr. Lou Albano and the controversy that when Kesha was in All-Star Wrestling and did the Monday Night Raw, and they had that big beef. And then the second one is, that her habit of always bringing her documentary crew with her, which is a very smart thing to do if you're a pop star or any kind of celebrity, because it avoids lawsuits. You got everything on tape, so nobody can sue you. So those are my and Adri's opinions for that
There
first
you
round.
go. There you go.
Thank
As
you.
Kesha would say, the documentary don't stop till she gets home.
Oh.
All right. Thank you
That
very
was
much,
impressive.
Chelsea. Now we're going to move to Adri, unless she wants to give her story time to Chris. Adri, would you like to go or pass? Which is apparently a new thing we do now.
I will actually go.
All right. Adri, you will also have 75 seconds on the clock. When you hear the boom, you may begin.
So my story is inspired by the word pandemonium. And here is my story. There was once a retreat in the state of Pennsylvania called South Fork Fishing and Hunting Club. It was founded in 1879 and it was designed to give the most powerful men in Pennsylvania a place to enjoy their magnificent wealth and accumulated in the steel, railroad, and other industries. The club was private. It was on an artificial lake where they would gather in their clubhouse and the cottages, and they'd have picnics and go swimming and do all the things that rich people do. However, the lake was built on a really shaky foundation. Before they bought it, it was an unnamed reservoir, part of the Pennsylvania Canal system. And once it went into their hands, they did some alterations to meet the recreational needs. They added a fishing screen, which I don't know what that is. And they lowered the dam by 1 foot. And further down the canal, or further down the way of whatever the canal went to, was a town called Johnstown. When an unusually strong storm hit on May 28th, 1889, between 6 and 10 inches of water fell in 24 hours, and the levels of the dam began to rise. I'll finish that in section 2.
All right. Thank you very much, Adri. Now, is this a truthful story about Johnstown, or are we all in for a letdown? Chris, what do you think?
Well, she mentioned recreational alterations, and in my experience, that's a very different thing than hanging out by a dam. So I am going to say also, she mentioned an artificial lake. So I'm just wondering, is it an artificial lake or is this an artificial story?
All right, Chelsea, what do you say?
Feel like AG's trying to throw us off the scent, like, oh, and a fishing screen. I don't know what that is. So it must be real if I found it on the internet, or you could be bluffing. Not sure what's shakier, this or the story.
Yikes.
I just love the audience's reaction to that. They're so
On the edge of
thrown off
this.
by it. I can't believe it. And then there's a little commentary. in the
Shocking.
song.
Yeah.
Believe
Round,
that just
round
happened?
one. I mean, dropping the bluff word in round one, that's a big deal.
That
It
is a
is
big
a
deal.
Big
I'm
words.
kind of
big
honored.
words.
I'm kind of
We have
Strong
a big
move.
show.
Strong move.
Speaking of strong moves, it's your move, Chris. You
Okay.
will also have 75 seconds on the clock. When you hear the ba-boom, you may begin.
All right. Thank you very much. So when I heard the word panda, the very first thing that popped into my head is a thing called Mambo Bear. And it's this little panda bear that plays a snare drum. And it's a little mechanized toy. And I've seen it many, many years at Mardi Gras and other places. And that led me to think, all right, well, what is the deal with pandas and drums? And it turns out that the most popular, one of the most popular brands of drums used in drum circles and meditation is the Panda drum. It's actually a company, the Panda Drum Company. And the use of drums and the form a Panda drum is it's what's called a tongue drum. And I'll explain that in the second round. But the use of this for meditation and holistic and healing purposes goes back literally centuries. And it has ancestral origins, the use of tongue drums and other percussion instruments to calm people down, to meditate, and to basically help them kind of ease away from the stress of the day, because they did have stress back in the day, just like we have stress today. And I'll get into the Panda Drum Company and the moving forward of this technology in the next round.
Okay. Oh boy, Chris, are you telling us a story about how to meditate, or are you telling us a story that deviates from the truth? Are you telling a truthful story about Mambo Bear number 5, or are you bluffing and talking some jive? What's going on? Chris, that's what I do when you all talk. I do work. Chelsea, what do you think of Chris's story?
I don't know if it's the meditation talk, but it's kind of putting me to sleep. Why is it called the panda drum? We're going to get into this and the technicalities of how and why, but like why? So why panda drum? I don't know.
Unless it's black and white, you got some explaining to do, Chris. Adri, what do you think?
I'd like to yield. No, I'm kidding.
Nope. Nope.
My opinion is that Chris mentioned that this was a meditation tool, but I can't see the logic behind that because there's nothing more obnoxious than the sound of a drum, especially when like a toddler or a person who doesn't know how to play the drums is playing it. It's awful. So I'm sensing there might be a bluff within the three of us.
Yes, Adri doesn't think it's a meditation tool. She thinks you're trying to make her a fool. And it won't work, Chris.
Won't work. Not
All
today.
Oh, the drama.
But you know what that exciting dramatic music means? We're done with round one.
We are.
Which means
We're going straight to round number 2.
3. We all said 2. That's what I heard. We're in round number 2 where the points are worth double of 0.
Hey, that's math.
There is a possible way to win, but it's not by points. It's by moxie and knowledge and your investigative ability. But round 2, we do lose something. We lose 15 seconds of time. That's right, everyone. You are going to continue each of your respective stories, but you will have 15 seconds less of time to do it. That's right. You will have 1 minute, 60 seconds. That's it. And we're going to start with you, Chelsea, to continue your tale. Chelsea, are you ready to tell us about Kesha and or Queen Liz and or documentaries?
Sure am.
All right. When you hear the ba-boom, begin.
Okay, so again, Kesha is now going on tour, brings her documentary crew with her, as she always does, thinking it's going to be about her traveling overseas. And she's, of course, in China, and then has a few days off and goes to the Panda sanctuary. And when she is at this sanctuary, she is just so enamored with the pandas. She just falls in love. Again, huge animal lover. And she is so inspired that she's like, oh my goodness, having this in the documentary is not enough. I want to raise money. I need a song about my pet panda because I want a pet panda and I need a music video and I want it to be here. So her team somehow got together and very quickly got everything signed, got approval for her to have this song and video shot, boom, right there in the Chengdu Panda Sanctuary.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chelsea. Now, is Chelsea's story about Kesha's visit to the sanctuary, or is it a story that's imaginary? Adri, what do you think?
I just have a quick question for clarification. I don't think I have an opinion yet, but I was just wondering if you could remind me how Queen Elizabeth and this story about Kesha come together. Have we gotten there yet?
Yes, this is how Kesha saw a documentary of Queen Elizabeth at
this place.
And then that was on her
and then she ended up there.
On her my bucket list. I've got to go.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of like how in The Simpsons they start by going to a monster truck rally and it turns out they get a new car. It's one of those things where it starts with Queen Elizabeth just to get us to the actual plot of Chelsea's story. Chris,
Gotcha.
what do you think?
I think during the filming of this documentary that she was enamored with the pandas clearly, and but there was one part where she was a little confused, and she said to her crew, "Hey, is that panda drinking out of a pot?" And they said, "No, a panda."
Oh.
Thank you.
Oh.
Let's throw in the tomatoes while we're out. Let's get some
geez.
tomatoes in there.
Oh man! Well, I mean,
There we
we
go.
got. Oh, you want a tomato?
Nope,
I'll give
not
you a
me.
tomato.
There it is.
There you go. Boom.
Boop.
That's it.
Oh,
You
wow.
Get it.
That's for the audience at home.
That's
for
good.
the
There you
audience
go.
at home.
The audio listeners just they don't get that. Sorry.
Yeah, they heard the.
They did.
What
Those
else
were
is that?
tomatoes.
Well, that could be something really gross, but it's tomatoes,
Tomato.
folks. Get your heads out of together.
They're from
All
Buca
right.
di Beppo, actually.
Watch the last show.
Okay.
Okay. Adri, it's your turn now to continue your story. I believe about was you Pandemonium?
Pandemonium.
Powerful men, rich dudes.
Yes.
You can continue when you hear the ba-boom. You can begin.
Okay. So 2 days after this storm hits, the manager of the club notices that the water is starting to rise in this lake, and he starts getting worried. So they call in a group of Italian laborers to frantically dig like a spillway or like an area for some of this water to go, but it's too late. It starts billowing over the dam, and eventually the dam breaks, and a 30 to 40 foot wave rushes down 14 miles to the city of Johnstown. Apparently, this flood was as wide as the Mississippi River and 3 times as powerful as the Niagara Falls. When it hits the town, all hell breaks loose. Locomotives weighing 170,000 pounds were basically just ripped from the railroad tracks and just thrown thousands of feet. Debris piled up 40 feet high. Buildings caught fire. People were sucked out of buildings. Pandemonium broke loose. Everyone was struggling to just survive, but in the end, 2,209 people died, and it costed $17 million worth of damage.
All
Round
right.
3, I'm gonna wrap it all up.
Yes, I would hope so, because that's how the show works. All right.
Yeah, he's right.
You are
yeah.
doing the thing you're supposed
He
to
is
do.
right.
All right.
All right.
All right, Adri, we had stories about storms and water rises, and somehow a dam breaks with water flooding a community causes buildings to catch on fire. I don't know how that works. I'm not sure if the science or the maths on that one. Chelsea, what do you think?
That seems pretty extreme for, I feel like we've read about it in the history books, and I don't think I did. Not that it was my best subject, but
Okay.
But now you're an expert.
True, yeah.
That's disconcerting because this
Ah.
is a history show. Let's move on to Chris and try to forget
pop culture, pop culture. Historian right here.
That's where the armchair bit.
That's
comes
right.
from.
That's exactly right.
Young
Well,
chicks
all right,
should be in a library.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, there should be. out there.
Touche.
I'm going to
Chris,
think
please.
about this. Yeah. It's fascinating. Adri just really bombarded us or flooded us with details in that round. It was, I wonder, is it because, we have some people in our audience and follow us who are really into, kind of details in science. And she mentioned, 14 miles from the dam to the Johnstown River, the water moved, and it 180,000 pound, train or whatever it was. So I just wonder if, Adri had that audience in mind that really likes those kinds of details, and she's just pandering to them.
Oh, boy.
Or pandaing.
You get the sad trombone for that one.
Panda-ing indeed, Carlos.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Chris. Now that we've given you the sad trombone, let's stick with you and let you continue your story, okay? Which was, if I'm a mambo bear? We're talking
Well, it's
about
inspired by Mambo Bear, but it's the panda drum.
Okay, please continue
And
your story
just-
about
yeah.
a panda drum.
It went Mambo Bear, panda drum, into this where we're going now. And for the record, also, I just want to get back to Adri at the end of the last round questioned, the veracity of having, toddlers using drums, and is that melodic, and is that, calming? Well, that's like asking, if I did surgery. Well, nobody would let me do surgery, and nobody lets toddlers do drums for a holistic circle. So just clear that up. So, but these are used, drums are used, tongue drums in specific, are used for sound therapy, and that's where that comes in. And there is a group in Europe that is known for having created something called the tamburo, and they are it's from the Netherlands, and they created this thing that is really foolproof. So even an idiot like me can play this thing in tune and make people calm down. And I will go to the U.S. and now the iteration of this that's current in my next round.
All right. Thank you very much, Chris. Now, is Chris trying to teach us about toddlers using drum, or is he just trying to make us a little less dumb with a bluff? Adri, what do you think?
I think that Chris was the one pandering there at the beginning while taking up the majority of his 60 seconds explaining that a toddler would not be given a drum set. So
More than
I
a
know that-
majority, Chris. More than a majority.
I know that is a tactic often used by the bluffers to fill time.
true.
So
Or,
I yield
or
the
was
rest
it
of my time to Chelsea.
or was it a fact tick?
You technically don't have an allotted amount of time during this part. But Chelsea, go ahead.
It's an election year and I'm practicing. I yield my time.
Oh boy.
There you go.
Chelsea, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, backing up what Adri said, I mean, you did spend half your time kind of on the
time.
defense, which why would you feel so attacked if it was the truth? You would just want to get the whole story out. You're always saving for the next thing, but we only got maybe 15 seconds.
I'll be honest. I wasn't even sure he knew that he started his round until.
Oh, he knew. No, Adam, he knew. He knew.
Well, we're gonna have
The
to do this
clock
again,
ticked.
aren't we?
I love how the accusation went. I only told 30 seconds of the story down to 15 seconds of the story. Carlos is going to say that I had negative time in my story.
Those are the best 5 seconds of story I've heard.
All right. According to our thingamabobber 360,
Oh, the
we're
360.
done with round 2, which means, what does that mean, Adam? If we're done with round 2, what does that mean by conclusion?
By the Roman numerals that Chet created numbering systems, we know it. It's going to round number 3. Here we are.
Or in binary 011. Okay, we're in the final round. Our contestants, this is their last chance to make their case to our viewing audience at home and to each other that they are not the bluffer, that they are telling things that are factual and actual. And as always, we're going to start with Chelsea, but this time we're taking off more time.
Oh.
Now, Adam, remind me, are we down to 45 seconds or are we down to 30 seconds?
Nobody does 30 seconds unless you want to pull the godlike powers of doing so, but that would be rude.
I
think
don't.
45 is the standard. I think we'll stick with that.
I don't think that Chris would survive if we brought it down to 30.
Give him
I
like
think
5 seconds.
He would just shut down. He would take the first 25 seconds
Yeah.
to explain the last thing.
That's right.
And then he would only have 5 seconds to actually finish his story.
They
Which,
say the victors rewrite the history, so
that's right. Okay, Chelsea, you have 45 seconds to complete your story. 45 and only 45 seconds, Chelsea. You may begin your ending when you hear the ba-boom.
So Kesha now has 2 days to write and film this song and music video. And she is in a panda, like the onesie suit with the pandas. Everything's going great. Everything is going swimmingly. And then, of course, it's the final take. And in true Kesha fashion, out comes a bottle of champagne pouring all over onto Pandas. The panda handler, like, they stop everything. I mean, these are national treasures, and they completely said, absolutely no, pull the plug. Kesha, meltdown. I have to do this. We are giving you millions of dollars and a title card. It was all scrapped, and scrapping it, they were able to avoid legal trouble, but there are now new rules in place to film.
Are you done? Because you
I
kind
did
of
an opposite. I did a reverse Chris.
You did a rolling stop. Yeah. No, I think you did a Chris. Oh boy, Chelsea.
45 seconds, get you.
You were on my good side until just then. Oh man. Instead of bottles of champagne, you've given me reasons to complain. Oh my God. Is this your story about a panda onesie or are you just bluffing constantly? What's going on here? Chris, what's happening with Chelsea's story? What do you think?
With Chelsea's story? I think that Chelsea, she mentioned the panda onesie, and then she immediately followed that up with in Kesha fashion, a onesie fashion. I see this little. These little footprints.
No.
Yes, they did.
Prints?
Yes, they did.
Ooh,
That's
that
right.
audience.
I see these paw prints of a potential falsehood here. That's what I'm going to say.
Oh, onesies have hoods.
Adam, just have your finger over the tomato thing. That's all you need to do. All right.
I'm ready.
Just get tomato ready. That's all you need to do. That's the rule, not the exception. Adri, what do you think of Chelsea's story?
I just want to make sure I understood everything. Queen Elizabeth made a documentary about the panda. Kesha saw it. She said, I want to do this. She did it, but then she did something terrible, and now the video doesn't exist, so there's no proof that your story ever happened.
They couldn't release the footage to avoid.
Okay, that's very convenient.
Bluff.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
An inconvenient bluff. Okay. Next, we have Adri. You will also have 45 seconds to wrap up your story for us, okay? You can begin when you hear the ba-boom. Bring us home.
Okay, so basically, like, immediately the people who own this little lake house retreat said, yeah, we're not guilty. We didn't do anything wrong. They got sued. The people who sued them lost. They were never held accountable. They said that it was an act of God. So basically, the American legal system soon adopted precedents that made it possible to hold defendants liable for their modifications to land. And in 2013, researchers from the University of Pittsburgh found the real truth that the club actually lowered the dam by 3 feet, and they did some other changes. And it turns out that the flood could have been prevented. It could have been not as half bad. I don't know if that makes sense. And just so you guys know who the powerful men were that were behind this place, it was none other than Andrew Carnegie, Andrew Mellon, and Henry Clay Frick, just to name a few.
Frickin' Henry.
Thank you.
Frick, Henry the Frick. Okay. Let's see. Were these guys sued, or are we about to boo Adri for telling us a bluff? Was she telling us a true act of God, or was her story a bit too odd to be factual? What do you think, Chelsea?
I think she saved some big names for the end there to sprinkle on, and she also did say in there the real truth. Is that supposed to be subliminal?
No, just liminal.
Oh.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Chris, what do you think of Adri's tale?
What I think of Adri's tale. So, the part about there's a clock running. Why is that clock running?
Because we know how you are, Chris. That's why the clock's running.
So here's my tale
You're
of
gonna go
Adri's tale.
ways.
If I could not be interrupted, it would work a lot faster. Okay,
The floor is
Just
yours.
say
The
it.
floor is yours.
All right, sure it is. The defendants were found liable. And here's the thing: they lowered the dam by 3 feet. Easy explanation for that in court, because they played volleyball over it and they just had to make it a little bit easier to get the ball over the thing. And then she said it's not half bad, which means it's half good. So it all worked out in the end. I don't know what they're suing about.
Yeah, she said half, not as half bad. So
Not as half bad,
halves in
which
there,
means
so it's like a
it means
quarter
half
bad.
good.
Quarter
Half
bad.
good.
I feel like we have to check
Oh,
with
right.
It
Bilbo
could have
Baggins
been
on that.
half as bad. That's what I meant to say. It could have been half as bad as it actually was. Thank you.
Well, okay.
Okay, indeed, Chris. Now that you're flustered, it's your turn to wrap up the round and possibly wrap up the game. You now have 45 seconds to make your final case as to why we should believe that you're not the bluff. And it sounds like everyone might be sus. So when you hear the ba-boom, begin.
Okay, so the story I told earlier about Europe and the influence of those drums coming to America is absolutely true, and it involved something called the tamburo, and I mentioned that earlier, and that inspired a gentleman named Dennis Havlina, who lives out in the Midwest, and he saw this thing, and the tambourine inspired. It was made out of pipes and metal and stuff. So he took his own version of this. He created from a propane tank, 2 propane tanks together, put it together, and there's a thing called the hang drum and the tambrero, and he combined the two, and he called it the tank drum because it's a propane tank, and that is one of the most popular selling things now. It's about $150 per piece. It's actually made out of propane, and because you guys give me a hard time about not telling the story, I'm going to go a little over time this time and continue to tell my story. So Dennis
More
Salvina,
buzz.
I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, you have to have that hand over that button, Adam.
It's right there.
We're gonna have a
It's there.
conversation after
There it
this.
is.
Okay. What was that thing called? Tambiro?
The tambira and
Tambira.
that inspired his Hank drum from the tank and the tambira.
Gotcha.
And,
So is this a factual story about the Tambira, or is Chris sort of bluff hero? I try. They're not all winners. Okay.
He's in his bluff era.
Bluff era. That's better. Bonus points.
Adrian was swift with that one.
Oh, yeah.
This is a factual story about propane, or is Chris trying to drive us slowly insane by bluffing? Chelsea, what do you think?
Sounds like a bunch of hot air to me. Yeah, again, he spent almost the first half kind of what we'd already talked about, and then kind of rambled, kind of made sound like he was making it up on the spot. Had no idea where it was going.
Oh. Ouch.
That's all right. Oh, smallest violin, which we don't have a sound effect for. Let's work on that, Adam. Adrian.
Okay,
So Chris sounded like he was describing the guys who sit under the highway playing the drums with their Home Depot buckets. And like he maybe passed by one today because I know he works downtown. So maybe he passed one today and he was like, Panda drum. Got it.
They're potato salad buckets, for the record, not Home Depot. Just saying.
All right, calm down, Chris. Calm down. Okay, we have gone through all 3 rounds. The Calculatronic 10,000 is all used up. We can never use it again. They're disposable. But now we have to get into the hard and arduous fact of both within this group of people here and within our viewing audience at home, trying to figure out who is the bluff. So, armchair experts, I'm going to give you one last opportunity to make your case as to who you think the bluff is, and also, if you want, why you are not the bluff. Chelsea, we'll start with you.
Well, with Adri, I don't know if the mathing with the 40-foot waves, 170,000 pounds things, and then Chris. Again, do we need to revisit? So I'm gonna go with Chris. Like, did you even have a story? Why is it called Panda Drum? I still don't know.
It's the brand.
But
I don't know. I'm not Dennis Alvina. I'll ask him.
You don't know. You're only the person who picked the topic.
Not
How would
real.
you know?
it's
Adri.
bluffing.
Wow.
Okay, so Chelsea thinks Chris is a bluff. Adri, what do you think?
So I really want Chris to be the bluff. But then again, Chelsea told a story about something that doesn't exist.
That seems very bluff-spicious.
My God, I really don't know. I'm going to go with, let's make it interesting. I'm going to go with Chelsea.
All right. If the bluff doesn't exist, you must not acquit Chelsea. Chelsea is who Adri thinks it should be, so that's one for Chris, one for Chelsea. Chris, what do you think? And you picking yourself too? I would.
Here's the thing. I'm going to say on behalf of my fellow panelists and also on our audience, I am super thankful that we've come to the end of the rounded timing, because that means we've also come to the end of Carlos's rhyming. Okay, so I am going to say, I'm going to say Chelsea. Chelsea had this fantastical story about Kesha seeing the queen but getting herself into a messa, and now but Adri, here's the thing. Adri, right out of the gate, she mentioned the name of the fishing and hunting club, and that right there caught my attention. South Fork, a bunch of rich men in this club called South Fork. Gee, let me think back to my. Oh, that's right. There was a TV show about a bunch of rich men on a camp on a called South Fork Ranch. It's called Dallas. It's made up from a TV show. Adrian Bluff.
Can I change my answer?
Do you want to change your answer, Chelsea?
Wait a second.
No, because I'll be annoyed if Chris bluffed the story and the TV show.
Whoa. Oh, my God. He could be double bluffing.
Yeah, right. I'm not risking that.
Then that would make it true. Two bluffs make a truth.
Chelsea thinks it's Chris. Adri thinks it's Chelsea. Chris thinks it's Adri. It's a serpent eating its own tail.
Really
Who is it? Those of you in the audience, now's your final chance to guess who you think it is. I don't know who it is, but you know who does. our announcer guy, Adam. So, Adam, we all want to know who it is. Why don't you tell us? I'm glad I don't have to guess.
All right, Carlos, I'm going to have you step off of our virtual stage and give me the power.
Amen.
For I know the truth. Was your bluff about Panda? Could it have been Chelsea? Could it have been Adri? Could it have been Chris? I shall reveal the truth about pandas. And who was bluffing? It was Chelsea! How about that? Almost got away scot-free, but not entirely, I'm afraid.
Not today, Chelsea. Not today.
Come on back to our stage, Carlos.
Not today, Chelsea.
Not today, Chelsea.
Not today, Satan. Not today, Chelsea. All right. And that looks like Adri. I believe Adri guessed Chelsea, which makes Adri tonight's winner.
Oh, that's wonderful. We have a winner. We do have a winner. And you know,
Adri,
wow, Chris had some wild speculation there at the end. Where did that even come from?
You did.
Well,
did you
Adri,
accuse me of rewriting the show Dallas? I don't even know what that is.
you don't know what
He
Dallas
had a
is?
stronger point to
no.
why you were the bluff than he did around his own story.
Stop
More
processing too
more
much,
detail.
Chris.
More thought out.
Did.
Well, Adri, congratulations. As
Thank
our
you so
winner,
much.
you win a make-believe Tambiro and a slightly used panda suit that Kesha used. Congratulations.
Great.
Those things will eventually come in the mail or maybe not. Who knows? You can't sue us if they don't.
That's right.
Thank you, everyone, for coming to watch History Bluffs. Don't forget to follow us on the Instas. You can follow us at history.bluffs. You go there, you add us on your Instagram, you go to our link in the bio, you can find our YouTube page and any other social media we have going on. Tune in next time when the topic is brand new and another bluff tries to fool us all. Take it away, Adam.
You heard him. Tune in every week. We are live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and catch us on Instagram and listen where you get your audio podcasts.